Welcome to Prince Shorthand House. Exercise number 107 and 108 Sir Kailash Chandra. 140 words a minute. Total 2000 words. Be ready? Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, I have to thank honorable members for the kind words that they have said about the government in the course of the discussion this afternoon. This is an occasion of more than ordinary significance. The political history of India had many vicissitudes, and this particular day will be remembered as placing another milestone in our progress towards an ideal state. There have naturally been many storms, and we have had to pass through considerable stress and strain. Yet it is a great pleasure to me to tender my felicitations to the honorable members of the House. During the last 10.5 months, the country had been resounding with the echoes of the States Reorganization Commission, the proposals made by it, the various claims put forward by individual groups and government, and the comments and criticism made by innumerable persons from the press, from the public platforms, from the floor of the legislatures, and ultimately from the floor of the two houses of parliament itself. It is a matter of gratification, I would submit, almost one of unique character, that in spite of all the vicissitudes through which this bill had to pass, ultimately the form which it has assumed, and which represents the fruits of the collective wisdom of the two houses of parliament, as the support, almost the unanimous support of both the houses. I would like honorable members just to place before themselves the picture of the new map of India. So far, we had a large number of states. Perhaps there were 20 states besides some other territories, but now we will have only 14 states and 4 territories besides the Andamans and Nicobar and the Lakshadweeps. The citizens of this country will be living in the states, and only less than 2% or just near about 1% will be living in the centrally administered areas. It is worth considering now whether we have not really succeeded in evolving a scheme of which we all can well be proud. The honorable members will consider the case of each individual states. They will find that almost unanimity had been reached, except in the case of Ahmedabad in Gujarat. If you take one state after another, you will find that almost all people in the country have now accepted the scheme that is contained in this bill. If you take the various states, you will see that Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kerala, Punjab, Rajasthan and other states have virtually accepted the schemes contained in this bill. It is unfortunate that there has been some amount of difference in Ahmedabad in regard to the bilingual states of Bombay, which was introduced in this bill with the unanimous support of the members of the Lok Sabha, and I hope with the backing of most of the members of the Rajya Sabha, if not of all of them. I do not want to this occasion to enter into petty controversies. This is too big an occasion to admit of any trivial points by way of debate or otherwise. It is my confirmed opinion that the country had succeeded in achieving results which will prove to be of an enduring character, and which will take it forward on the road of progress, prosperity and to absolute security and safety. The unity of India will indeed be helped by the rational distribution of the territories of the country. There has been a long-standing hankering on the part of large multitudes that their areas should be reorganized. It was but proper that the government should have appointed a state reorganization commission to deal with that matter. The commission worked very hard and made their recommendations. We are obliged to the Commission for the thought that they bestowed on the ticklish and naughty problem. Well, there were certain matters to which the government had to give further consideration, though they had always been anxious to translate into concrete form that emanated from the Commission. Whatever changes have been, I believe, for the better, and they have made the entire scheme more acceptable. The bill that was placed before the House was certainly placed with the approval of and at the instance of the cabinet. All that was done in the regular way. I do not want to go into details, nor do I consider it necessary to make any retort about what might have been said, because, as I said, this is too solemn on occasion for such an operation. I may also observe that we have no fault to find with anybody. Everyone, whether individual or those who had an opportunity of working together, tried his utmost, tried to the maximum extent he could to achieve that he thought to be in the best interest of the country. Well, some things had not been as perfect as one would have liked them to be. We tried to improve them to the extent we could, and we respected public opinion, and we were guided by it. So far as the bilingual Bombay state is concerned, I believe that everybody accepts that it is an ideal solution for Bombay. Without being unfair, no one can find fault with the government for having agreed to accept a proposal which I think 99% in the country is considered to be the best solution to this very ticklish and almost insoluble problem, which had engaged the attention of this and also of the other house continuously for days and for weeks and weeks. I am glad that today the scheme that we have has the backing, the goodwill, the blessing, and the support of the entire people in the country. There may have been some errors, there may have been some aberrations. Well, that is unavoidable in human affairs, but after all, man learns by mistakes, and wisdom is ultimately the result of the lesson learned from a series of mistakes that are committed. Next para. Sir, our constitution has also emphasized this composite character of our culture. The language which is going to be the official language of the Indian Union, it has been laid down in the constitution, will reflect the diversity of our composite culture. There is no attempt anywhere at establishing uniformity. From this point of view, the attempt to reorganize the states, recognizing the differences which exist, is a move in the right direction. It is a wise and a statesman-like move. The essence of statesmanship is not to do something according to a formula. Something may be ideal on paper, but when we face certain facts, the essence of statesmanship is to face those facts and to recognize the differences or the diversities or the difficulties which exist, and then to find a solution in which these difficulties, these diversities, and these differences may be reconciled. The present bill takes a further step in that direction, but my regret is that this bill did not form part of the states reorganization bill. If the proposals contained in this bill had been presented as a part of the general proposal in the state reorganization bill, perhaps this extra attention which has been paid to the particular problems discussed in this bill would not have been given. So much time and attention would not have been consumed over this question if we were dealing with a larger number of problems. When we look into the totality of the situation in India, we look at the problems in general way, but when we isolate one particular problem from the general totality of the picture and look at only one isolated problem, there is always a risk, there is always a danger that we might exaggerate the importance of some particular items. One of the reasons why there has been so much discussion over this rather small bill, as the Honorable Home Minister described, it is because it has been isolated from the general picture of the reorganization of Indian states with regard to the particular proposals which have been made. Sir, I do not wish to speak at length at this latest stage. These are in essence the result of discussions and, shall I say, if not complete agreement, at least the reduction to a minimum of the differences which existed between the different groups, the various demands and counter demands of the different states. That use of the term state in this connection is somewhat unfortunate. If we had talked of provinces instead of states, there would have been less of feeling on this issue, but be that as it may, these demands of the different states have been before the country for a number of years. After a great deal of discussion over this particular bill, we have come to what may be regarded as more or less agreed settlements. The Bengal government had been certain demands, in Bihar government had made certain demands. Perhaps in a case like this, I would have been better if these demands had not been made publicly in that particular manner. It might have been better if the governments had discussed it among themselves, but whatever that be, the State Reorganization Commission took into consideration all the recommendations, all the demands, all the claims and counter claims of the different states, and they made certain recommendations with regard to the transfer of certain territories from Bihar to Bengal in the northern region and certain territories from West Bengal to Bihar. As far as the territories in the north are concerned, unfortunately, as the Honorable Home Minister stated today also, there was a defect in the proposal of the State Reorganization Commission, but my honorable friend Pandit Konjru, who is absent today, made it very clear in his speech before the House that mistake had arisen because the commission had been given certain defective maps. The idea of commission throughout was to suggest the distribution of the territories in the northern region in such a way that West Bengal may become one compact state. They had made the particular recommendation which they made partly because one of the rivers in that region is continually shifting its channel, and partly because defective maps had been used. And Pandit Kunjru in his speech before this house left no doubt in the matter that if the correct maps had been before them, they would have framed their recommendations in a manner which would have ensured that West Bengal was one compact state. As regards the need of the compact state, I do not have to add anything after what was said by the Honorable Home Minister today. For administrative purposes, it is essential that a state must be a compact unit, because otherwise, with regard to the problem of law and order, with regard to the problem of movement of goods, particularly with regard to the smuggling of materials and goods from India into Pakistan, in this border region, a state divided into two different units with another state intervening in between would face all kinds of difficulties. Now, sir, my honorable friend who spoke last also agreed that there should be a compact state of West Bengal, but he asked why should the boundary of this compact state be 200 yards to the west of the national highway. Now, sir, it is obvious that if you are going to make it a compact state, that area which connects the two adjointed parts must be of such a size that it is a practicable proposition. You can theoretically give only 100 yards all along the Pakistan frontier, but obviously such a transfer of territory would not serve any purpose whatever. Now a suggestion has been made that the national highway with an area of about 200 yards to the west of it would be the boundary line in order to ensure proper arrangements for the maintenance of the road and also for the proper vigilance. Stop.